Dear students, I wish you all a very warm welcome. Today we are taking a trip to Mount Kailash. Today we are reading Chapter 8, Silk Road, written by Nick Middleton. This chapter is part of a travelogue about the author's travel along the ancient trade route called Silk Road regions as they are now. This account of the Silk Road, with its contrasts and exotic detail, describes the challenges and hardships the author faced while journeying to Mount Kailash on a pilgrimage. The Silk Road primarily refers to the land routes connecting East Asia and Southeast Asia with South Asia, Persia, the Arabian Peninsula, East Africa, and Southern Europe. Silk Road, also called Silk Route, is an ancient trade route. This route was linking China with the West, and it carried goods and ideas between the two great civilizations of Rome and China. Silk went westward, and wools, gold and silver went east. Nick Middleton is the author of Silk Road. He was born in London, England, and he is an award-winning geographer, writer, TV presenter, environmental scientist, and university lecturer. His curiosity about how planet Earth works and how people interact with it was fueled from an early age by his family's world atlas and by the adventures of Tintin. Nick Middleton has traveled to more than 70 countries. Now he works and communicates on a wide variety of environmental issues and travel topics for a broad range of audiences, from government policymakers to primary school children. He also teaches at the University of Oxford. Before we start with our Chapter 8, let's get familiar with Tibetan region. Let's get familiar with some expressions. First of all, Kora. Kora is both a type of pilgrimage and a type of meditative practice in the Tibetan Buddhist or Bon traditions. It refers to pilgrimage. In broader terms, it is a term that is often used to refer to the entire pilgrimage experience in the Tibetan regions. Kora. This picture shows Mount Kailash, considered to be sacred in 4 religions: Hinduism, Bon, Buddhism, and Jainism. Mount Kailash is located near Lake Manasarovar and Lake Rakshastal, close to the source of some of the longest Asian rivers, the Indus, Sutlej, Brahmaputra, and Karnali. This picture shows prayer flags and prayer wheels. Traditionally, prayer flags are used to promote peace, compassion, strength, and wisdom. The flags do not carry prayers to gods, which is a common misconception. Rather, the Tibetans believe the prayers and mantras will be blown by the wind to spread the goodwill and compassion into all pervading space. Praying wheels. The first prayer wheels, which are driven by wind, have been used in Tibetan China since the 4th century. The concept of the prayer wheel is a physical manifestation of the phrase turning the wheel of Dharma, which describes the way in which Buddha taught. Traditionally, a mantra is written on the outside of the wheel. The mantra Om Mani Padme Hum is most commonly used, but other mantras may be used as well. This picture shows cairn of rocks. It is an impermanent human-made pile of stones. This picture shows Drogba, nomad shepherd. They are the nomads and shepherds around the Tibetan region. This picture shows Changtang, a plateau in western Tibet. And here we can also see some wild asses. This picture shows Tibetan Mastiff, a large and strong breed of dog. This is a gazelle, a small antelope. This picture shows lichen, a simple, slow-growing plant that typically forms a low, crusty, leaf-like or branching growth on rocks, walls, and trees. Our chapter 8, Silk Road, starts with a narrator who is leaving Ravu, a place called Ravu, and he is heading towards Mount Kailash to complete the Kora. A flawless half-moon floated in a perfect blue sky on the morning we said our goodbyes. Flawless refers to unblemished, without any imperfections or defects. So this flawless half-moon floated in a perfect blue sky. To float means to rest or move on or near the surface of a liquid without sinking. It means to levitate, to move in a liquid or the air. The sky was perfect blue. On the morning we said our goodbyes. On the morning we departed. Extended banks of cloud-like long French loaves glowed pink as the sun emerged to splash the distant mountain tops with a rose-tinted blush. Extended banks of cloud. Extended bank refers to extended borders of clouds, and it says cloud-like long French loaves. French loaves is a loaf of French bread. It is long in shape. They glowed pink. To glow means to give out steady light without flame, or some radiance of light or heat. They glowed pink as the sun emerged to splash the distant mountain tops with a rose-tinted blush. As the sun emerged, as the sun appeared, as it came out. To emerge means to become apparent or prominent. As the sun appeared, to splash. Splash refers to a sound made by something striking or falling into liquid. Here, it refers to sun that splashed the distant mountain tops with light, with a rose-tinted blush. Tinted refers to tinged or slightly colored. Blush means having rosy or fresh color. These distant mountain tops were splashed with rose-tinted blush, with a rose color, with a red color. Now that we were leaving Ravu, Lamo said she wanted to give me a farewell present, a goodbye present. One evening I told her through Daniel that I was heading towards Mount Kailash to complete the Korah, and she'd said that I ought to take some warmer clothes. So the author says he told Lamo that he's heading towards Mount Kailash. He told her this through Daniel. The author wanted to complete the Korah, and she, Lamo, she'd said that I ought to take some warmer clothes. She said that I have to take some warmer clothes. She said that I ought to get some warmer clothes. We said, Korah refers to a pilgrimage. After ducking back into her tent, she emerged carrying one of the long-sleeved sheepskin coats that all the men wore. After ducking back. Ducking back means quickly going inside. After quickly going inside, ducking back means to dodge, to duck something. It means to avoid something by moving your head or body out of the way. It means quickly going inside. She ducked back, she was ducking back into her tent, and then she emerged. She appeared carrying one of the long-sleeved sheepskin coats, coats made of sheepskin. These were the type of coats that all the men wore. Tsetan sized me up as we clambered into his car. Tsetan, we said, is another character. He is the owner of the car hired by the author for the journey, as well as being a tourist guide. Tsetan is one character. The author is another character. There are two more characters, Daniel and Norbu. Daniel is an interpreter from Lhasa who traveled part of the time with the author, and Norbu is a Tibetan working at an academy in Beijing who wants to carry out the pilgrimage to Mount Kailash. Here, Lamo is just mentioned. Four main characters will be the author. The author is a professor of geography at Oxford University and an environmental consultant. This is one character. There are few more characters. We said Tsetan, Daniel, and Norbu. Tsetan sized me up. To size up means to evaluate or estimate. He looked at him as we clambered into his car. To clamber means to climb or move in an awkward way, typically using both hands and feet. So they went into the car. The car belongs to Tsetan. We said Tsetan is the owner of the car hired by the author for the journey, as well as being a tourist guide. Ah yes, he declared. Drogba, sir. We said Drogbas are nomads and shepherds around the Tibet region. Here it means you look like a nomad shepherd. We took a shortcut to get off the Changtang. Changtang, we said, is a plateau in western Tibet. We took a shortcut to get off the plateau. Tsetan knew a route that would take us southwest, almost directly towards Mount Kailash. Tsetan, the driver and the tourist guide, knew a route. This route would take them southwest, almost directly towards Mount Kailash. This is where they were going, in order to complete the Kora. It involved crossing several fairly high mountain passes, he said, but no problem, sir, he assured us, if there is no snow. This route involved crossing several fairly high mountain passes. Fairly high means quite high, reasonably high mountain passes. But no problem, sir, he assured us. To assure means to convince or to reassure. Tell someone something positively to dispel any doubts. Tsetan was assuring them that if there is no snow, no problem, sir, if there is no snow. What was the likelihood of that, I asked. Not knowing, sir, until we get there. Here we can see that Tsetan is communicating with his companions, with his passengers. He says, we will know once we get there. From the gently rolling hills of Ravu, the shortcut took us across vast open plains with nothing in them except a few gazelles. As they are moving, the author says, the shortcut took us across vast open plains. Vast means huge, extensive, or immense, something of very great extent or quantity. These were vast open plains with nothing in them except a few gazelles. We said gazelle is a small antelope, any of a numerous small to medium African or Asian antelopes. There was nothing there except a few gazelles that would look up from nibbling the arid pastures and frown before bounding away into the void. These gazelles would look up from nibbling the arid pastures. To nibble means to take small bites. So these gazelles were nibbling these arid. Arid means being without moisture, extremely dry. They were nibbling these arid pastures, and they would look up from this nibbling, and they would frown. It means to scowl, to make a face, before bounding away into the void. Bounding away means to move quickly with large jumping movements. These gazelle would look up, seeing them. They would be nibbling these dry pastures, and then they would make faces and they would run away. They would bound away. They would move quickly with large jumping movements. Further on, where the plains became more stony than grassy, a great herd of wild ass come into the view. Here, when the plains became more stony, where there was more stone than grass, a big herd of wild ass come into the view. They saw a herd of wild ass. Zetan told us we were approaching them long before they appeared. Zetan knew that they are about to meet wild ass. Kyang, he said, pointing towards a far-off pall of dust. Pall of dust means cloud of dust. He said, Kyang. Kyang means wild ass. He said Kyang, and he pointed towards this far-off pall of dust, far-off cloud of dust. When we drew near, I could see the herd galloping en masse, wheeling and turning in tight formation as if they were practicing maneuvers on some predetermined course. Here the author says, when we drew near, when we came closer, I could see the herd galloping. Herd is a large group of animals. Galloping means running or moving quickly. He said I could see the herd galloping en masse. En masse means in a group, all together, as a whole. Wheeling and turning in tight formation. Wheeling means to turn round, to go round, to rotate. They were turning in tight formation. Formation is something that has been formed, the action of forming or process of being formed. They were wheeling and turning in tight formation as if they were practicing maneuvers on some predetermined course. Maneuver is a movement or series of movements requiring skill and care. Predetermined means established or decided in advance. He said, as if they were practicing it, they were so good in making these formations. Plumes of dust billowed into the crisp, clean air. Plumes refers to a long cloud of smoke or vapor resembling a feather as it spreads from its point of origin. These are clouds of smoke or vapor. Plumes of dust billowed. It means they were moving or flowing outward. They were spiraling into the crisp, clean air. Into the crisp, dry, clean air. Here we find out that the author is leaving Ravu along with Daniel, an interpreter, and Zetan, who was a driver and a tourist guide. This will be our part 1.